All right, we've got quite a bit to talk about here. I was not expecting quite the response that we got, but I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that there were so many different voices in the conversation. I have been trying all weekend to make the rounds and watch all the videos and read all the comments and really get a feel for how everybody feels and what everybody thinks. And it's been so much fun. I've discovered some content creators I didn't know about. I feel kind of like I get to catch up with some creators that I haven't talked to in a while. So I think I commented on Scratch's video how nice it was to just sit and watch his video and feel kind of like we were having a conversation. I haven't talked to Scratch in a long time. Same with Deadwood. I love Deadwood. Every time we've ever gotten together, we've had such a good time. I have nothing but good things to say about Deadwood. And it was really cool to sit there, and even though we weren't having a back and forth necessarily, just to feel sort of engaged with him for a little bit, it was nice. I've missed some of the guys, so that's been fun. Like I said, I've found some creators. Cole Red, who is fantastic. Raid with Dave, who is really good. It's been really cool. I've had a really good time discovering creators I didn't know about, hearing what everybody thinks about this. And again, whether you agree or disagree with me, I am sincerely grateful that anybody's participating in the conversation at all. I think it's an important conversation to be had. I appreciate being held accountable by some of my fellow creators. Some things that I said were not really constructive or productive, and that's totally fair. Totally fair. I spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not to make that video and not so much time thinking about specifically what to say. So the video just kind of went where it went. I didn't make myself notes or really think much about it. I just thought, you know what, let's do it, and made the video. And I definitely should have been more efficient. There's some areas where my terminology was a bit muddy, and I could have been a lot clearer and potentially avoided any confusion or some of the confusion that was had. I feel like a couple of the creators felt maybe like this was a finger in the face, and it was not intended to be that at all. And that's definitely my fault. Even if the majority of the people that watched the video knew what I meant, the fact that there's some that felt differently about it is 100% my fault. And I could have easily cleared that up, and perhaps they would have received the video a little bit differently instead of feeling like it was an attack. And I do regret not being a little bit cleaner with some of the things that I said. To kick it off, the terminology calling out is not what I meant. And again, in my head, I knew what I meant, and those are the words that made sense to me at the time, and that's what I went with. And it's not really what I meant. It wasn't meant to feel like I'm calling someone out for doing the wrong things. Cole Red said in his video, and there was a comment, I believe, on Hell Hades' video. I don't remember which video it was, but it was from someone named Wesley. And they both kind of cleared up for me, which I appreciated, that I used the phrase calling out, but what I meant was calling on. It's definitely more of a rallying cry, and in no way meant to be a finger in the face. The only feet I want held to the fire here are Plarium's. So if I made anybody feel like I was coming after him, again, I apologize. I could have cleaned that up. That would have been a very easy thing to clean up had I taken a little bit more time to be a little bit clearer. And I certainly was not trying to cause anybody stress or make them feel attacked. I definitely was not trying to send anybody any negativity through comments or through viewers. I would never obviously condone that. And while I don't think it would have done me any good to say it in the last video, I wish that I had, just so that it's clear. I never am for that. I don't ever want you guys to go be negative with another creator on my behalf or on behalf of anything I've ever said, especially. I have no negative feelings about any of the other creators. I don't think anyone is to blame for any of this negativity in the game except Plarium. So while I say we as a community are doing this, which is giving Plarium free reign to do whatever they want, Plarium's still at fault for doing it at all. My point is, I think we have to do more than express how we feel to them. I think we have to try to make a tangible impact, and that's what this is about. So I don't think anyone but Plarium is to blame. I didn't want any creators to get any negativity. I didn't want anybody to feel any type of way about the content that they make or the way that they play the game or the way that they feel. Everybody doesn't have to feel like I feel about this, okay? So, again, just to be clear so that there's never any confusion, I never condone any version of being negative to or about other creators. And my comments and their comments, I don't want it. Sometimes I get comments that praise me and in the same breath are negative about someone else. I don't want that. I don't appreciate that. You're not giving me the compliment you think you are. These are my peers, and I have a lot of respect for them, even if we disagree on some things like this. And I don't want anybody. This job comes with enough to juggle mentally. This job comes with enough things to deal with that I regret that I did anything that sent anybody any kind of heat from the comments. The only heat I wanted creators to get was to hear about the video. That was it. So telling me that anyone else is a shill, telling me that the other creators are spineless, first of all, is flat out wrong. I think every time Plarium does something stupid, I don't know of anyone that doesn't express displeasure with it. I was in the content creator with all of the other program with all the other creators for a long time. I watched them on a daily basis tell Plarium everything that needs to be said to them. The point is, Plarium doesn't care what they're being told. They don't seem to care. Their actions do not indicate to me that they care what they're being told. So I hope that clears that up. Again, I could have been a little bit clearer with my speech. I apologize if anybody felt stressed out or felt accused or felt attacked or felt any kind of heat. That was not the goal. I want people to engage in the discussion. And again, if I want anybody's feet held to the flames here, it's Plarium. It's the people at Plarium making the decisions that are negatively impacting the game and making the community feel the way that some of us feel, okay? Now, there may be some cuts in this video too, because I've tried to make some notes. We're going to try to be more efficient with this video and avoid, the best we can, avoid any misunderstandings. So there may be cuts here and there. All right, let's talk about a few of the rebuttals that I got from some of the people that either disagreed with me or agreed with me, but didn't, I guess, maybe see the bigger picture, see the vision that I see. One of them was, as the YouTube crowd, as the YouTube audience, we are not enough of the player base to make an impact. And I perhaps this is the biggest rebuttal that I disagree. I disagree with this the most out of anything else that I disagree with anything anyone said. I disagree with this aggressively. I think, first of all, we are more of the player base than you think. Beyond that, even if we're not, I think we can have enough impact on their revenue to get their attention. And here's why I think that. The first part of why I think that is I've done a little bit of research. I don't know how to access the data. I've done the best research I can on Google. I found several different sites. I've tried very hard to figure out what Raid's daily player count is. Across all the sites that I can find that will give me that information at all, it ranges anywhere from 72,000 to 100,000 daily players. Now, that seems low to me. I don't know how accurate that is. If that's accurate, we are way more of the player base than I think anyone thought we were. But even if it's not true, even if they have 1 million daily players, let's talk about the impact that we as a YouTube audience could have from a monetary standpoint. Let's say we'll try to be reasonable with our estimations here on the lower end. Hell Hades does what? Anywhere from 40 to 50,000 views per video per day. There are viewers that watch some creators and not others. So while Hell Hades has the biggest audience, he doesn't have the whole audience. I know that there are several people that watch me that don't watch him. I know there are several people that watch other guys that don't watch him. There's several people that watch other guys and don't watch me. We share a portion of the audience, but we all also, to a degree, have our own individual audiences. Even on Colred's video, I think Colred is closing in on like 3,000 subscribers right now. And I saw more than one comment saying, "Who's JGigs?" And maybe they were trying to be shitty, but also maybe they really don't know who I am, which would be totally reasonable and understandable. Just because someone has more subscribers and a larger audience than someone else doesn't mean that everyone in the smaller audience knows or watches the person with the larger audience, right? So let's account for Hell Hades. Let's call it 40,000 a day. And then let's say there's 10,000 other viewers across the community that maybe don't watch Hell Hades every day. So let's call it 50,000. Let's say there's 50,000 people in the YouTube audience. Let's cut it in half and say half of them are spenders. I would wager to say it's more, but let's say half of them are spenders, 25,000. And let's average their monthly spending to $100. Again, I would wager to say more. This is a very expensive game to play. And I think even the low spenders in Raid spend 50 a month. You know what I mean? So if we take that into consideration with the moderate, heavy spenders, whales, I think 100 a month is reasonable. So if 25,000 people are averaging $100 each a month, that's $2.5 million a month. If you think Plarium doesn't care about $2.5 million a month, you were mistaken. You were just mistaken. If you think they don't care about $1 million a month, you're mistaken. If you think they don't care about $500,000 a month, you are mistaken. There was one comment somewhere, I don't remember where, that said this whole thing is so naive. Don't you think Plarium's got enough money that they wouldn't care about losing some money from the YouTube audience? No, I don't think that. I think that's leagues more naive than what I'm suggesting. When have you ever seen a billionaire be done, seem content, stop trying to make more? When have you ever seen a big corporation indicate in any way that they've made enough? It doesn't happen. Of course they want to make more money. Of course they'll notice $1 million a month. And again, that's taking the numbers that we did as an estimation and cutting them more than in half. I believe the YouTube audience accounts for more than $1 million a month of their revenue. And they will 100% respond to losing that. So I don't buy this idea that we're not big enough to at least be heard. But they're not listening. And that's why I'm suggesting that some action needs to be taken. We need to hit them in the only place that they seem to respond to. Another example is the 1-star review bomb that Darth initiated back in the day. That was a big deal. If the YouTube audience wasn't sizable enough to have an impact, that wouldn't have been as big of a deal as it was. But it was. It's pretty easy to speculate based on the way everything happened that they got a new CEO over it. So I think we can have an impact. I think we can have a much bigger impact than people are giving us credit for on the YouTube side. So that's one that I just flat out disagree with you on. I think there's enough revenue in the YouTube audience that if they missed out on it for a month, they go, you mean all we have to do is acknowledge them and have a conversation with them about how the game could get better and we could potentially get that $1 million back? They'll for sure do it. And if they start making the game better, there's a lot of people that would start spending again. I get comments every single day about, I've stopped spending. I haven't spent anything in the last 6 months. Former whale here, now free to play. People are happy to spend money in these games, but people are not happy to give Plarium money. That's the sentiment right now. Plarium could change that. But they're too far gone at this point, it feels like. So hitting them in their wallet for a minute gets their attention. We can explain to them, we would like to spend money on the game, but we're unwilling to because you're making it so bad lately. That's my vision. That's kind of what we're going for here. So that's one thing I wanted to address specifically. Another thing I wanted to specifically address is I heard in a couple of videos and I saw in a few comments as I was watching them all over the weekend, the sentiment of it's just a game. And I'm surprised to see that as much as I did in a gaming community. I feel like that's something that people who don't really game say to diminish gaming as a whole. But I think it's so dismissive. I think if you feel that way, that's fine. But I think to kind of look down your nose at people who maybe are taking it a little bit more seriously than you or feel differently than you about it is not helpful. This game means what it means to everybody for the reasons that it means that to them. And it's not really up to you to decide how important it should be to them. A lot of people, I mean, there's countless reasons people might feel a certain type of way about this game. I definitely have an affinity for it. Part of that sentiment comes with if you hate it so bad, quit. And again, that's such an aggravating comment, because if you are saying that to me, you're not listening. You're totally missing the point. That's a null contribution to the conversation. Obviously, if you don't want to play it, don't play it. I must want to play it. I don't know why me trying to make it better doesn't translate into me loving the game and wanting it to be better, wanting to have more fun playing it. If it gets to the point where I hate it more than I love it, of course I will leave. I've quit many games before that I did not feel the way about Raid that I feel, but for various reasons, Raid is important to me. I do love the game. I feel like that should be so clear. I don't love what Plarium does to it. I think Plarium does a lot of obnoxious things and has been on a bit of a tear lately. But yeah, I love the game. I love the community. I love the routine that I have with the game. There's, of course, an affinity. This game is the game that I grew with as a creator. This is the game that I became successful in this career with, that got me to a point where I could move across the world. This game, I built what I've built and have financial security for the first time in my life. There's an affinity that I have for the game. I would love for it to be good. I would love to continue to play it. I would love to feel invested in it again, be excited about what they're doing, go back to making more videos about what's going on in the game and how cool it is and how much I enjoy it, versus Plarium just doing ridiculous shit every day. Again, I love a good rant. I like making the skits. I don't imagine I would ever have to stop making the skits. I don't think Plarium's ever going to do a full 180, but it would be cool to have some shit to get excited about sometimes in the game. Again, I talked about this a lot in the last video, so I'm not going to rehash it, but this game means a lot to a lot of different people. For whatever reasons, it means a lot to them. So for you to say it's just a game, if you feel that way, fine. And of course, it is just a game at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean it can't mean something to someone for whatever reasons it means something to them for. Doesn't mean they can't want to see it get better. So I just wanted to quickly address that, because I don't think it's helpful. I think it's kind of rude and dismissive to think you should decide how important the game should be to someone else and diminish their opinions because you feel that way. And again, that's I'm more saying that for the community than I am myself. I've been doing this long enough that I don't really get too personally bothered about what anybody says in the comments. But I did want to kind of say that out loud for anybody else that maybe heard that and felt some type of way about that comment. So that's another thing we wanted to talk about. So let's talk about in a more clear, cohesive way what I think should happen. Because again, I spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not to do the last video and didn't tighten some of the stuff up that I should have tightened up. It is not really reasonable to do all the things that I said in the last video. Not doing fusions, not doing events and tournaments. That's, in more ways than one, not as feasible as it sounded in my head at the time. If for no other reason than that the red dots are going to drive us all crazy. That's not feasible. And the real goal here is to get their attention. And the number one way to do that's going to be revenue. So if, you know, my adjustment to what I'm suggesting will be a spending strike. And I'll say for the month of December 1 to January 1, don't spend in the game. Let's give them a month of what it looks like if we stop spending on the YouTube side of things. Let's see. Maybe it makes an impact, maybe it doesn't. But there's really only one way to find out. And I believe that if the YouTube crowd stops spending for a month, we have their attention. And they will at least acknowledge what's going on. They'll at least have to listen in a different way. If we show them that we're willing to do it and that we can make an impact on their revenue, there's no way they don't give us their attention. You know what I'm saying? So again, if you can do the fusions free to play, participate in everything you want to participate in. My only suggestion for the movement, if we want to call it that, is don't spend a dime in December. No dime December. We're not calling it that. That just came in my head right now. And let's see. Let's see what we can do. That's my proposal. So anybody that wants to participate, let's do it. Wrap up November, however you want to wrap it up. December 1st hits. We all close the wallets. Show them what a month looks like without us. And see how they respond to it. Again, going to be easy for me. I don't spend money in the game anyway. Not that I would never spend money again. And I think that's where a lot of people are. Plarium could turn this around. If I believed Plarium was trying, if I believed Plarium was listening and trying and actually trying to improve the game, if something that they did didn't feel so blatantly like a cash grab, genuine quality of life, genuine fun in the events, genuine appreciation for the players and their success as a company making this game. If I see all that, I'm more than happy to spend some money in the game. More than happy. Ask any other developer of any other game I've ever made content for. I'm more than happy to spend money in these games. I'm not more than happy to give Plarium money because I don't think Plarium deserves it. So let's get their attention and try to get them to behave like they deserve it and get back to enjoying this game the way that I think we all could. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. I sincerely appreciate the amount of people that got involved in this conversation. I'm really pleased that I was able to discover some creators I didn't know about. It was really cool to feel like I was chatting with some of the guys that I haven't chatted with in a while. This is not the end of the conversation. I hope that people will react to this one or respond to this one and keep the conversation going. And we can start gearing up for the December spending strike and hopefully sway a few people that weren't necessarily on board in the beginning. I think it would be really big for us if everybody would get on board. If the majority of us as a community here could get on board, I really, really do believe we could make an impact here and get Plarium's attention and make them start doing some things differently. So, again, be respectful. If you want to try to get the other content creators' attention about this and get them involved, you got to be respectful about it. You cannot be throwing heat at them. You cannot be shitty with them. Don't get in my comments and be shitty about the other creators. I don't want to see it. I'm not going to engage with it. I don't appreciate it. I don't agree with you. I don't want it. Okay. Even if you want to express yourself to Plarium, Deadwood talked about this in his video. Facebook, Twitter, they've got all the different social medias, support tickets, whatever it is. But they are human beings. So talk to them like human beings. Express your dissatisfaction. It's okay to be upset about where the game's at and express yourself about it, but you got to be reasonable about how you're talking to people, all right? So express yourself, but don't be a dickhead. Don't be a dickhead. Don't be slandering any of the other creators or anybody in my comments. Don't go to anybody else's comments and be a dickhead. That's not what this is about. The point of this is for us to come together and hold Plarium's feet to the fire, while also remembering that the people at Plarium are human beings. All right? Am I clear enough about all that? I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody. Excited for the conversation to continue. Let's see if we can't get everybody on board by December 1st and show Plarium what's up. Later.